Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. It is my great pleasure to introduce our main speaker of the day, Christo Buerta. I asked for some input just for the introduction. Christo, I hope you don't mind, just asked a few people. And I have these one-liners that I'm going to share with you.
Oh no.
Some say that you never see Christo and Superman in the same room at the same time. Apparently, you have X-ray vision, which you use to spot and solve a faulty formula anytime and every time. He has incredible enthusiasm for Draftworx. Krista, I've actually seen that just in my interacting with you for a couple of years now. And
Yeah.
his love and passion for the program really shines through. And I think that there probably are a few other things to be said, but I'm going to leave it at that. So, guys, make some noise for the one and only, the amazing, the charismatic Christo Buerta.
Thanks so much for the awesome introduction, Shade. It's
Yeah.
always such a pleasure having you join us.
There we go. We're seeing your screen.
All
It's
right.
looking good. And over to you,
Fan
Christo. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for thanks so much for the introduction. And thanks so much everyone for joining. I think it's always such a pleasure and an honor to see how many people are enthusiastic to join our webinars and learn about the program, learn what we're doing. And yeah, thanks a lot to all of our clients for feedback as well. We thrive on feedback at Draftworx. If you can't take feedback, you're never going to get ahead. So please always send that through to us. So starting off, Draftworx Cloud. What is it? Draftworx Cloud is obviously our cloud product, completely online. You don't have to download anything. You don't have to install anything on your computer, on your servers. It's completely online. You run it in your browser. The files are all saved on our servers. We make backups for you. We take care of all of those kind of things for you. So super convenient, makes life a lot easier. And to get started, we always go to essentially cloud.draftworx.com, the easiest way to get there. Otherwise, if you just go to draftworx.com, you can follow the link from there. You'll see there is a cloud login as well as a cloud sign up. So if you're completely new, you've never taken a look at Draftworx before, you're welcome to go to sign up to cloud, and you're actually then able to just enter your basic details over there. You'll see you can enter your practice details, user information, password. It's a standard sign up. You'll also just be able to check out the terms of use, the privacy policy, all of those things to sign up from there. So easy to sign up, put in those details. You literally don't need to do anything else. You don't even need to call us. If you want, you can just sign up straight like this. Once you have signed up, I just want to touch you through the little guide that we'd go there. So once you have signed up, you're going to get an email on your side where you just need to activate the email address. And once you've activated and you log in, this is the first screen that you'll see. So you'll see it's going to tell you, welcome to cloud. It's going to just tell you you've got access to a demo client, and I'll explain that to you guys now. And it talks a little bit about the billing and so on, and I'll talk about that a bit later. So we can get started. It's going to guide you through entering your basic details, who's the practice signatory, making sure that everything is fine on your side. And then I would go, you see, it's asking me, practice signatory is required. I can just type in my details. Oh, and a telephone number. Let's put in anything there. And then additionally, it's going to give you guides to our little basic webinars and so on. But for that, I'll leave that for now. You will see with a completely new practice, you do have a demo client available. If you do want to go investigate, you can go there and take a look at how the program works without paying anything. So just select there, and you're able to select the framework that you'd like to check out along with the working papers. You're not going to be charged for anything here. It's all free. Essentially, you can go create a demo file. What's nice with these demo files is you can create it. You can actually do an existing client of yours. So if you've got a nice set of financials that you have to do in the next week or so, You can do it in the demo version, and if you want to switch it to live, you just pay the fee for that file. It switches it to live, and you've got a full client file. You don't have to go redo work or anything like that. So that is when you do a completely new setup. You'll always see that. On my side, if I come back to the system, and I've obviously already created a profile, I've already signed up, all of those kind of things, then I would come through here to my login page. So login page, very simple. We're putting in our email address and we're putting in our password that you set up when you created. And I'm going to log in from there. I log into the system, and the first screen that I see is essentially our little home screen. Very simple. Here we just can go through and take a look at the entities that we've already created, already exist in my profile. I can also go investigate my practice and dig a little bit into that. So a few things to take note of. So what we're looking at here is we've got a client list, and that goes along down here. You can see I can highlight my clients, I can select them, all those kind of things. And the client list is very simple. We've got a client name. We've got a framework, and I'll explain the framework shortly along with the working papers. We've got a country selection. Obviously, we do have multiple countries that you can do financials for. You've got the tax year, the period, how many months are you actually doing the financials for, and then the created date. So that's the basic screen that we see here. A few things to take note of as well. You'll see I am currently in the practice is called training practice. And I have a bunch of credits on the system over there. So that is a prepaid credit system. So to understand Cloud, it is prepaid. You load up credits to your profile. And then as you create client files, as you roll client files forward, those credits get utilized on your side. So it's prepaid. And maybe just to show you how that works, if I want to go and take a look at my practice info or load any credits to the system, I've got one of two options. I can click on the little gear on the side here and go to my practice settings, or a little shortcut, you can actually just click on the practice name itself. And it's going to pop open my practice settings. Now the practice settings relatively simple. We've got our information where we're just putting in your account number, registration date, your billing address, all those things. And this is where you can also make payments on your side. So if you do want to purchase additional credits, there's a few different options here. We have Pay Now. Pay Now, very simple. You're just going to go and you can do an instant EFT if you're in South Africa, or you can just do a standard credit card transaction. You put in the credits that you want to purchase, so however many, and you can choose either instant EFT or credit card. So the card, it does say credit card. It is any card that can pay online, just to be aware of. So as long as your card can pay online, you should be good. We do use a third-party payment provider, so we don't save any of your card information. And the third-party payment provider is world-renowned. We use Stripe, which is a very well-known payment provider. The other option that you have, if you'd like to do an EFT, you can request a voucher. Make sure to just complete the email in there that where you want to get the voucher request details in, and then again put in the amount. What we will do then is we will send through an email to your computer. We're gonna in the email we'll tell you where to make the payment to, what reference to use, and then where to send the proof of payment. As soon as you've sent that proof of payment through, we take a little bit of time, we'll send back a voucher to you, which you can then go to Pay by Voucher and enter that voucher's information there to claim those credits. So those are different payment options that we have in our practice settings. From there, we can also look at our practice details. So double check the information here. The first time that you complete enter Draftworx, you will complete most of this, as I showed you earlier. But you can always change this. Obviously, you don't have to keep it the same and so on. We can modify any of these, and all of this information actually pulls through to the financial statements for you. So our practice address, for example, that's going to go through to the financials to appear on our audit report or on our compiler's report. So all of that information pulls through from here. You do have a few custom settings for your financial statements, and there you can actually choose default font, and what that would do is it's going to apply that font to all of your financials so that you don't have one set of financials in one font and another in a different font. It's straight off, so everything gets applied the same. And then the same with the thousands grouping, you can either set it to space or comma, and that will just determine how the numbers look on your financial statements. Lastly, we have two-factor authentication over here, and this is actually the practice-wide two-factor authentication setting. So this will only be available to partners, and what it does is it actually, if I tick this on, it will not allow anyone to even see any client files or anything about my practice without having two-factor authentication enabled on their profile. We'll go into in depth of how to do the two-factor authentication on Thursday when we do our advanced training. But essentially, you would do it from your profile details. So if I click on the little C, where's my profile information, go to profile, then I can actually, this would say enable. Mine's obviously already enabled, but I could click there and then it's going to enable it, and I go through the process of doing two-factor authentication. Obviously, two-factor authentication not required for everyone. If you want that additional security that it does offer, we did implement it for you. And maybe just to touch on security, just for everyone concerned, we know it's always a big concern for your clients. We are ISO 27001 registered, so we do have that certification. It's a global security certificate. You can go check it out. So always good to have that. And then we also are compliant with both POPI and GDPR for the international guys. So we have thought about security. Obviously, we make backups of everything as well. So the idea is we always make backups of all of the data that we have on Draftworx. And if our server were to break or anything like that, we have backups to immediately fix that and get up and running very, very quickly again. But those are a few of the basics on the practice screen, and then my profile itself. There's a few other things that we can do on this screen. So just to touch on them, there is a possibility that you might be in multiple practices. So if that is the case, you can select your practices over here. At the moment, obviously, we're just staying in the training practice. And then additionally, under this gear icon, we've now looked at the practice settings. There is a practice reports, and that we'll cover in advance. That's more for our partners. And then there's manage clients and manage users. So the managed clients is where all of my archived and deleted client files go. Nothing much that's crazy there. You can restore any file. We never delete a file permanently. So even if you delete it, we're going to just leave it here in the deleted archive, and you can restore it if you'd like on your side. With the manage users, this is probably the most important one here. With Draftworx Cloud, because we're not paying a license per user, you can invite your whole practice into the system. So essentially, I've got a bunch of people here already in my manage users. You can see the list of users over here. You can see their email addresses, their role, which would be either partner, manager, or clerk. Status would simply be whether they have confirmed to join your practice or not. And then if they have two-factor authentication applied. I can also control the access over here. So the access would be what client do they have access to. So if I take a look, for example, let's say at Fulsher. Now Fulsher is just a clerk on my side. So I don't want to give him access to everything. So I'm going to go and make sure that he doesn't have access to all of my files. I'm only going to give him access to my ABC school, and I will save that. And that means that's the only file he will see when he logs on. He's not going to be able to see any of the other files. And you can set this when you invite the user. So from the very start, I can say add user. I can put in the person's email address, select their role, as I said, and just to explain those roles, we have clerk, which is obviously they are limited in what they can do in the system. They would be able to pretty much just do a set of standard files. They're not able to override any passwords. They can't invite other users like I can here. And there's a few obviously profile things that they're not able to do. Manager and partner can both override formulas. They can customize a lot more. And then obviously the partner has full access to pretty much do anything on the system. So we've got those options. And again, as I said, here's that client access. So if I invite someone new, I can from the bat, I can go and say, okay, I only want them to see this company A or whichever company it is. And that's essentially our invite system. Now that's what makes Draftworx Cloud very unique. You can invite your whole practice and you don't have to worry about paying for 10 licenses, even if it's that new clerk and he can't really do financials yet. You can invite him in. You can maybe get him to do a recon for you or practice a little bit. One of the awesome things that we're able to do in Draftworx. All right, a few other things that we have in the screen. You can see for our clients themselves on the right-hand side here, we have two little icons. One is this little blue man, a silhouette of a man. And what that is that's to just check who's got access to this file. So if I want to see who actually has access to, let's say, my console file here, I can click on that. And I can see, okay, cool, myself, I've got access, Earl has access, and Nicole has access. And I can again control the user access from this side. So there's two ways to do it. You can either control it from the user's perspective or from the client file perspective. We can also change a few things on the file. So if you click on the little three lines over here, there are some options that we can control here. So copy client, very, very useful feature. If you are doing a group of companies and you've customized the one set of financials and maybe your clients asked you for a whole extra schedule that you've added in, and now you want to go and do the second company in the group, but you don't want to go rebuild that whole schedule. You can go and use the copy client. And that will copy everything. It copies, makes a complete copy of that file, your TB, everything pulls through. But with that copied client, you can then go in, change the company name, change the numbers, pull in the new TB, and that extra work that you've done is then already kept on your side. And you don't have to redo all of that work. So super, super useful feature. We have a couple of clients who've also gone and customized their templates. They've gone and done a whole lot of work in creating unique templates that they like to give to their clients. And instead of creating new client files, they also use the copy client just to make copies of that for any new files they're doing. We also have archive and delete, and as I mentioned, that pulls it through to that option that we have here under the gear, manage clients. So that will remove it from this list and then pull your client into that manage clients list. We have rename, and that does exactly what it says. I can rename this file to anything else, and then I can lock my client or lock as read only. Now those lock options are only available to managers and partners. And there's the reason there's two is there's a lock client which doesn't allow people to actually even go into that file anymore. Completely separate, they can't go into that file at all. And then lock as read only allows people to go into that file, but they are not able to change anything. So it's locked as read only. That's a nice one for if you've completed a set, you don't want anyone to go change figures accidentally or something along those lines. Lock it as read only and essentially leave it there. And lastly, we can again manage the user access from this little panel. So that is our screen as we've covered so far. The one additional thing, and I'm sure a couple of you would have seen it, anyone that's come from our notifications, We do drop some notifications up here at the top once in a while. If we do some new features, we'll often highlight them there. And like today, we put in a notification for the webinars. So you all here, so I'm assuming a lot of you would have read this, but you can click there, you can see a nice notification. So you'll see this pop up once in a while for any communication from our side. Okay, so that's this screen. Let's get into it, and we're going to start and create an actual file on our side. So I'm going to go at the top here. You can see it says add client. Click on that, and there's a few options. So I can go and type in my details, client name, what client am I going to do today. So Draftworx, I'm just going to use the pre-selector there, Draftworx Pty Limited. So we're going to create that client today. We can choose a country. And this is actually one of the awesome things we've been doing this past year. We've really expanded our country list. You can see there's a lot of the rest of our African countries in here. We're starting to expand into a lot of different countries as well. We've got UK up and running. That went out of beta last year. Fantastic. We've got UAE that's busy spinning up. That's also fantastic to see. And I even have some clients in Samoa, which is fantastic. I don't know if they're here because I think it's about 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the morning there. But Ernest and Hanalei, if you are here, thanks so much for joining. Fantastic to have you guys. But yeah, spinning up a lot in South Africa and spinning up overseas. The guys that are interested in the UK and the UAE, send us a mail at support@draftworx.com. It is on a different server. So because of GDPR, we have to contain those data files in a different country. So GDPR doesn't let us contain data, financial data outside of the EU. And so essentially, if you are interested in the UK, please just shout, because you'll see I can't select it here. I don't have a drop down. At the moment, it's on a different server, and then we'll just give you that info. So if you're interested, let us know. And hopefully in the near future, we're actually going to allow everyone to access that even from the .com site. But that's maybe a little bit later this year. All right, next selection, frameworks. So frameworks, the most important selection that I'm going to do on this screen. It tells me what type of entity am I doing in this case. So you can see I can click over here. There's a bunch of options. We've got everything that you can think of here. Closed corporations, IFRS SME. We even have monthly management packs for those guys that want 12 months of data. You're welcome to check that out. Corporates love that. We've got a ton of guys budgeting on that and all of that. Very fantastic to check. We've got non-profits, partnerships, schools. Really, we have a very, very wide variety. If you go a little bit further down, you'll see the consolidation ones. Please just make sure when you do select either IFRS or IFRS SME, if you're not doing a consolidation, don't select the consolidations because they have extra columns and you're not going to know what to do with those columns if you're doing a standard set of financials. But going a little bit further down, we'll also see that there's a whole bunch of the same naming. You'll see non-profit and partnership and so prop, but they have this little box that says legacy at the back. Now, what that is that's for our original people coming from Draftworx Desktop. The guys who's been with us for ages. We've left that there for you because we know you guys love the original templates, and we haven't wanted to mess with them, so we've kept them there. If you want to use those old ones, you're welcome to. The plus templates, and you'll see all of these have a little plus at the back. They are our next generation templates. So essentially, if you can think of it like this, when we started off, we did the legacy templates, and they were good enough for just doing a standard set of financials. But there were quite a few things they couldn't do. So they couldn't update if there were new standards that came out. They can't automatically bring in additional disclosures for you and all those kind of things. Now, the plus templates we've built to do all of those things. Yeah, they can pull in additional disclosures, they print the notes better, they can do all kinds of things. And that is essentially why they are the plus templates, because they're on a whole nother level. And so I'm going to choose IFRS SME today. We're going to keep it relatively simple, IFRS SME, and we can go from there. The one thing to mention is with the pricing for cloud, you'll see the pricing is listed here on the side for the different entities. And that's the fee that I am going to pay for this framework. The most expensive is our full IFRS, 2,900. Obviously a little bit more, but full IFRS files are generally very complex, and that is why the framework is obviously more complex then as well. And then we've got most of them are 145 Rand on our side. If you're doing a sole prop at 70, I don't think I've ever seen anyone else with all the global competition that we've seen now that offers any type of financials for 70 Rand or the equivalent. But yeah, today IFRS SME 285 and we're good to go. Working papers, we can also select what we're doing for this client. Are we doing a compilation? Am I doing just agreed upon procedures, legal practitioner, property practitioner, and review? So we've got a few different options here. If you are uncertain of what to select here, you're welcome to hit this little question mark. It's going to give you a breakdown of where our working papers, what they're based off of. So if we look at this, I chose compilation now, and you'll see the compilation. It's essentially built on the latest ISRS 4410 revised standard. So then I know what standard I'm set in, and I can kind of go from there. So if you aren't certain, go and have a look here and you can decide which one to choose on your side. All right, then we select our tax year. So 2024, let's roll this forward. I'm going to use 2025 today. And we're going to make sure the year end is correct. That should automatically adjust to the end Feb for South African clients. For the different countries, we've tried to adjust that to your standardized year end, but that should be there. And then the period, as I mentioned earlier, this is how many financials how many months of the financials I'm doing. So if I'm doing interims and I'm doing 6 months, you can just select 6 months here. And one of the awesome things, there's a little tip that I always give to my clients is, if you are doing 6 months and I'm doing that set, I'm getting it signed off, you can actually go and reuse that same file for the year-end file. So once you're in the client list, you can go change the period to 12 months and you can actually reuse that. So you don't have to pay for 2 financials for during 1 year. You only pay once for that set, so it's really useful. I'm going to set this to 12 months. We can go and select the industry. This is not going to change anything on the financials. It purely is for informational purposes, so you can put this in and pull it in there. Once you've created the file, you can take a quick look. There is my new client price. So this client file is going to cost me 430 Rand. And there is my current balance. Obviously, I have enough credits on my side. And then I can say add client. And I'm going to go ahead and create my file. So client file created. You will see what we have at the moment is we open up the screen and we're opening you up on a little notification screen. This is just what we do is if there's a very important announcement, something that might have changed with the disclosures or something along those lines, that that essentially we want to inform everyone about, because it's such a big effect disclosure. We notify you at when you open the file, and that's why you'll see this says IFRS Foundation notification. That happened last year. It was quite a big change. It was quite an immediate effect kind of thing. And so we wanted to let everyone know, and we also give you a little bit of instruction on how to fix it up on your side. This should probably be going away. We'll probably take it away in Feb, just because a lot of clients are rolled forward to the new files and everything should be okay now. Usually what you'll see if we don't have a notification is you're going to see the startup screen. The startup screen is very simple. it just gives you a bit of an overview of the steps that we're going to follow to actually do a set of financials. So it goes through, it tells you, cool, we're going to start on the client setup. We're then going to capture the TB. We're then going to link the TB. And then we view the financials. Lastly, we can do XBRL if it is required. And again, I can manage my user access from here. So I can immediately, as I've created this client file, I can pop into this manage user access, and I can disable access to anyone I don't want on this file. So that's essentially the startup screen. When we look at the screen now, we're going to see a few drop downs here at the top that we can take a look at. So I just want to quickly touch on them. There's a few that we'll probably be looking at in the advanced that we'll go through. But for today, we're going to be looking at mainly client setup, and that we'll look at in a bit. And then we're going to look at financial data. That's where our working trial balances go, all of our information goes. And then we've got taxation. Now the taxation, what we have is where you can do your tax in the financials, and then you can actually export files to these different softwares. So they partners with us, Acfin, Greatsoft, Taxbox, all of them partner with us, and they can assist you actually with your tax side of things. And we integrate, we just export the file and you import it on their side. So very convenient if you are doing tax on your side. Lead sheets we'll cover in the advanced along with the working papers. The working papers will be covered next week. And then let me just take a quick look here. The reports, you can pull a journal report, final trial balance report, all of those reports. If the auditors are asking for journals, you can send that through via this and so on. Documents, here's a few simple documents just to touch on them quickly. If you want to issue some director certificates in terms of their loan accounts or their remuneration certificates, all of those, you can take a look here. We also have the public interest score calculator. So if you want to check, if you need to do an audit, or if you need to do full IFRS or IFRS SME, you can run the public interest score calculator. We also have XBRL fully integrated into the system. That is a big one. We've actually started now also integrating XBRL for the UK, which has also been a very big process. Fantastic job there for our developers working on that. XBRL is an extremely complex subject, and I think the developers that are doing that are just next level fantastic. We are covering the whole XBRL. Clarissa will actually be doing that one, and that is on the 30th, I believe, that we're going to be doing that one. And then the last one we have here is the file manager. So the file manager, we'll dig a little bit more into that in the advanced on Thursday, but it is relatively simple. You can upload files and documents and additional working papers into Draftworx using the file manager. But that's essentially the basics of this screen. Next, we're going to take a look at the client setup. And I wanted to introduce an awesome friend of mine that she'll be taking you through that. As Shane introduced me, I'll introduce her. Some say that she completed an audit of a listed entity all by herself, and that she once taught the materiality calculation to a giraffe. I present to you the ever-engaging Nicole Enslin.
Really? A giraffe? Thank you, Christo. Okay, so Christo, thank you for that awesome introduction. I don't know how I would have taught a giraffe considering I'm about the size of a hedgehog, but anyways, good to know. Thank you for getting us to this point. I am going to share my screen. Just give me a second so that you can all see it. Hopefully you're all able to see the screen. Okay, all right. So Christo has lovely touched on all those little folders. I am going to walk us through the client setup. Now, being with Draftworx, one thing I can say, we work with the desktop, we work with cloud, but you know what the beautiful thing about cloud is? Even on a cloudy day, the sun will always shine through thanks to Draftworx. So let's have a look at our client setup. Bear with me. sound like a little bit of a broken record now and then, so just give me a moment and then hopefully we'll break that record. So client setup, you will see I've got a folder called client setup. Go to client setup. Essentially, what am I doing? I am setting up my client. What do I mean by setting up a client? Well, effectively, what are your financial statements? They're a bunch of figures, they're a bunch of words that all these people like to read and make decisions on. Cool, no problem. So how do I get these two to talk together? So Christo will lovingly take us through financial data, where you've got your trial balance and your financial statements. I'm going to give you the other information. So we're going to explain a few of these fields, how to navigate this page, kind of understand where this all fits in. All right. Entity name. As Christo did, he created the file name, Draftworx Pty Limited. Okay, we like this to be as close to your legal entity name as possible. Why would that be? Well, when I'm busy with my financials, I'd like to know that that's the legal entity name. I do need to point out, and I'll point it out initially over here, your legal entity name, okay? Currently at the moment, you can see my fields have a white background, indicating I can easily type information in, okay? At a later stage, i.e. 2 weeks from the date that this file is created, we do lock down 2 fields in the client setup. The rest of the information you are able to update at any point in time in your engagement. There's just 2 fields we unfortunately had to lock down due to some reasons. Entity name, and if I jump to my financial years using one of my shortcuts, the year end date being 28th of Feb 2025. We actually lock these 2 particular fields down, as in the past, someone was abusing our files. So unfortunately, we had to make this decision. We didn't want to, but we locked it down. In the event that there is a spelling mistake and you only pick it up 3 weeks later, or the client decides they need to change their company name and stuff like that, please, by all means, pop us a message through remote support and we will have a look at the file and we will assist you with that. Apart from those 2 settings, everything else, fair game. So let's get into it and let's have a look. So I've got my entity name, Draftworx Pty Limited. Now I'm going to use this scroll as well because it kind of gives you an overview of how much information there is. So I'm going to do it as slowly as possible just so that you can kind of see it without a lag. So I'm looking, lots of fields, a lot of blank spaces. Whew, goodness me. Looks like I have a lot of information to fill in. All right. Now, one thing to note, when you're filling in the information in your client setup, remember, whatever that output is essentially what you will see in your financial statements. So if I put the word Bob in trading as, that is what my trading as name will show up in my financial statements. If I am not having trading as information, i.e. it is not applicable, okay? The client didn't choose to use a trading as name. There's no, right or wrong answer on that one. It's fine. I can leave it blank. And by leaving it blank, you will see what the financial statements do when we populate them. So I'm simply going to fill in effectively what information I would like to show on my financial statements, also ensuring I remain compliant with whichever reporting standards or Companies Act I am drafting my financial statements in accordance with. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to add a registration number. Okay, so most of us have a registration number, so I'm going to go and put that one in. Okay, so you can see, easy to type in. Looking at my screen, I don't see a save button anywhere. Okay, so I like to call it a live save, right? So I can fill in my information. Oh, look at that, it's tea time. Gonna go quickly make myself a cup of tea, close my client setup, come back to my client setup, and lo and behold, my information has kept itself, right? So again, easily updatable, except for entity name and the financial year, 2 weeks after creating a file, but everything else, you can come back and update as you want to, all right? So there I've got my registration number, I've got a few other information. So wherever applicable in terms of dates, always got a calendar, drop down, select what is applicable to you. I have got currency rounding. Okay, so what is currency rounding? Well, basically we take your financial statements, i.e. your trial balance, and we round up or down depending on how you would like that setup. So we do start at none. However, most financials don't include the cents, so we don't really recommend using none because it will throw your financials out a little bit here and there due to the cents. So by default, we are on decimals. Decimals simply implies if I've got 101 Rand and 50 cents for bank charges, well, my financial statements will show me 102 Rand. Okay, now I can go from decimals, I can go up to billions, and really wish we were in the last category, but we'll all win the lotto one day and get there. You know, our dreams are in the cloud, so we've got this going. Theory here is whichever currency rounding you use, your financial statements will round for you. Okay, you don't need to go and round your trial balance so that it's in a thousands format. You can simply import your trial balance, select the setting as thousands, and the beauty of our financial statements is we'll round it up to the thousands for you. Okay, right? Nature of business. So what is my nature of business? Technically, nature of business is what do I do for a living? So ironically enough, I'm going to go and I'm going to say, okay, this client goes and provides software that shines above the cloud. Okay, right. And I'm going to add a full stop. Okay, if I add my full stop and I click anywhere else on my screen, I'm going to see an output here. Okay, this output is going to give you an idea of how it's going to look in the financial statements. So I see there, okay, Draftworx Pty Limited, the company provides software that shines above the cloud, double full stop. OCD in me says I don't need a double full stop. Why do I have a double full stop? Okay, so I look at my sentence and I see, full stop there. Take it out, click anywhere else, and you can now see what my output will be in my financial statements. Okay, so just a nice little nudge to say, hey, look at me. All right, now I've got my bankers. I can go and I can add banks. I can add multiple banks at the time if I want to. Just Control-Enter, go and add whichever banks you want to, if you need to. Again, this entirely depends on what are you disclosing. Okay, now for one of my favorite parts. Obviously, a lot of us come from accounting or auditing firms, but also some corporate firms. And we all know that time is value and value is money. So we kind of want to save as much time as we can, right? So where possible, and you actually have to either maybe use all three business, registered, and postal address options, that's okay. We have a shortcut for you. So I'm going to go and I'm going to fill in my address. Okay. We're going to go Cloud Central. Okay. I hope you spell it correctly. And I'm going to leave it a code. So I go fill in my business address. And what you'll note, either by postal or by registered address, I've got a button there that says, or wording that says copy from. So I'm going to copy from my business address. And hey, presto, in a second, I've gone and I've copied all that information that I needed to down into another field. Yay, saving time, saving money. Okay, so one way you can scroll down using the sidebar that I'm using. As I point out, we do have the quick jump across, so I can also go to a section, but because this is basic, I want to make sure I'm covering everything just to give everyone a broader scope of what we are looking into. So now we get directors and we get our shareholders. So, okay, I can choose to go fill in my directors first. I can choose to fill in my shareholders. Where do I get this information from? Well, you've got your company documents in front of you, or if you know your client, you know your directors and shareholders off by heart by now. Again, in some cases, maybe I've got more than one director and I've got 5 directors and they're the same shareholders and they've got surnames as long as the hills, and you're like, oh, really? And if you're like me and you have fast fingers, you tend to misspell it every single time. So again, I'm really wasting time in doing all my work. You know, I really wish I had a button that could help me in this situation. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go and I'm going to add my directors first. So I go, I've got C hat, and I'm going to give them an interest of 50%. I can choose to add their appointed date, their resignation date. So you can see I can either add as much info as I want to, or just add as limited information as I want to. Go say they're South African. Right, I've entered one director. Let's go add our next one. We're going to go and I'm going to add McLeod. Okay, and McLeod also has 50%. Also South African, great stuff. Now I'm looking and I get the idea that, oopsie, McLeod actually needs to be my first director. You know, they've been there the longest, all right? So you're like, oh dear, my order's wrong, so now what do? Don't fear, we have a little way to fix this. So I'm going to hover my cursor over, and I like to call it the Mickey Mouse hand. So hopefully you can see the little white glove, Mickey Mouse's hand, okay? And I'm simply just going to click on my mouse and drag McLeod above C hat. Therefore, I can now go and reorder my directors if I need to in a specific order. We have clients, you know, some like the CFO to sign first, then the CEO, maybe, I don't know, they just like it in that way. You can reorder your directors in any way whatsoever. Now, okay, I've gone and filled in all that information. Same information applies to my shareholders. So instead of having to go retype all of that, I can simply go across to where I see two little blue pages. And if I hover over long enough, you will see copy to shareholders. So I go and I choose the directors I want to copy to my shareholders. Needless to say, if you go and fill in your shareholders first, you can copy it back up to directors as well. And again, you can reorder your shareholders just by using the hand and dragging and dropping. Alrighty. Financial years, by default, you've got 2. I can minimize it to 1 by just using a drop of an arrow. I can increase it up to 5. One thing that needs to be just mentioned is if you do increase past 2 years, only certain sheets are affected where we automate it. So we'll pull in all those tax years, and that would be your balance sheet, your SOCI, your equity, notes and cash flows. Unfortunately, we just keep it to the 2 years. If you do require any additional information there, by all means, chat to our support team and we will show you more or less how to add those extra columns or extra information if you so require. Okay. All right, I can override. So if I do override, I can change my date. Maybe I'm doing management accounts. So if I am doing management accounts, just select the management account button and you can then go and say, well, these financial statements are up until the end of September. Change my reporting periods to however many months. Again, just a casual formatting issue. As Christo mentioned, you don't actually then have to purchase another file just to do management accounts. You can use an existing file. It's just a case of finding the right setting. Okay. Or chatting to our awesome support team at any point in time and saying, guys, is this possible? And we'll happily give you the answer. Alrighty. Okay. Additional disclosure. So like I said, lots and lots of fields. You don't necessarily have to fill in everything. I think the one thing we're missing is your blood type, but pretty much we've got everything else covered. So again, I can go and I'm going to fill in whatever I need to. So I'll just fill in a tax number for interest sake. And that's about it as much as I'm going to go there. Firm details. Nice point to point out here is Christo showed the practice settings. So remember in your practice settings, it showed your information. We'll have a looky-see here. I can now see I've got like almost grayed out writing that's italic. This is pulling through from those settings feature, okay? If for whatever reason, Christo wasn't perhaps signing off these financial statements, yes, there's information there, but I am able to go and update it, okay? All right, so again, information is there, easily updatable if you require it to be as such. Then we've got our other few settings, which someone else will cover. And now my favorite, naming conventions. Yeah. So background history on me is I used to always have to do financials in Excel. So you'd think you're so cool when you're a clerk and you like set up this awesome looking template and you go and spell one word so savagely wrong throughout the financial statements. You have to control, find, replace it and do that kind of thing. So naming conventions, kind of similar situation here. Effectively, remember what I said, whatever wording I see in a field is what my financial statements will tell me. So therefore, I know that my financial statements are going to refer to a company and to directors, okay? If my company wasn't a company and it was a cooperative or it was a church or some other organization, but I needed to disclose in terms of IFRS for SMEs or in terms of IFRS, I don't have those particular frameworks available. So I'm going to use IFRS for SMEs, and I'm simply going to change the word company to cooperative or church, change my management from director to trustees, or if there's a committee, you can change, literally type in the word committee, and that will come through to your financial statements. So lots of cool little features over here. I always say, give it a go, check what you like, see what you want to see on your financials. And if you can't find it, you can always ask us and we'll happily show you. So before I continue, I'm going to introduce our next guest speaker. Some say she's literally just finished her incredibly successful world tour under the pseudonym of Taylor Swift. But thanks to her love for Draftworx, she has the power to fix retained earnings just by staring at them. Please give us a warm welcome for the magnificent Matsebo.
Hi guys, I'm Matsibo. Thank you, Nicole. I just wanted you guys to see my face, but I'm not sure about retained earnings, but well, I work at Draftworx, so definitely I am there to solve all your issues. So today I have just a few items to show you guys with regards to client setup. And just to note out that today, the first one that I'm going to show you is with regards to trust only. So usually we get this question quite a lot where you would have clients. If I just start off by going to my trial balance, and if I filter, I actually have distribution receipts and also distribution that I have awarded right to some of the trustees. But if I go to my financial statements, I don't see any of those distributions on my comprehensive income statement, right? So ideally, what we do on our system, if we go to client setup, our default place where those distributions will land would be on your changes of equity. So what you do, you're just going to scroll down. I'm going to try to not scroll down too fast. You're going to scroll down to what we have termed our financial statement customization. So if you just check here, we have short distributions on the statement of changes in equity, which is trust only, ticked on here. And on my short distributions on the comprehensive income, it's not yet ticked. So I'm just going to quickly tick there, and I'm going to untick all those distributions showing on my equity. And if I go back to my financial statements, just remember to always refresh, because then it means that I have changed something on my client setup that filters through to my financial statements. So I'm going to just refresh. And if I just scroll down again, now I have my distribution reserved, and I also have my beneficiary distribution showing on my statement of comprehensive income. Then the second item on our client setup would be the cash flow type. Our quick settings under client setup, our default is that we always show our cash flow type under indirect, right? But I'll just show you guys quickly how the indirect looks like. If I quickly go to my financial statements, and this is how your indirect cash flow statement would look like, right? And I'm just going to show you a quick preview. For those who can just see, this is how your indirect cash flow type looks like. But I don't want this one. I want the other one. Usually that's what we get, the other one, and not this one, which is the direct one. So again, remember all the settings are in your client setup. You're going to go to your cash flow type under quick settings, and you just click on the drop down. You have your direct cash flow type, and after you've done that, you would refresh again. And if you quickly go to your financial statements, this is how the direct cash flow statement would now look like. And I'm just going to quickly show you on a preview. This is the difference. So now you have your direct, and on the other side you also have your indirect cash flow statement type. And the next item that I'm going to show you guys, it's the signature date option. On our default setting under response sheet, if I just close that, we usually have a date, right? A date that has been set aside on our client setup on the 31st of January 2025. I'll just show you guys quickly where to find that date. If you go to your client setup This is the financial statements approval date. So this is the date that has been there. But now I'm just preparing these financials. I'm not really sure when the directors are going to sign off. I'm not sure when the trustees are going to sign off these financials. I just want to see a blank line on this date instead of an actual date that I had to choose right there. So again, we go back to our client setup, and if we can just scroll down, and I'm just so tired of scrolling down now. I can't see it because I'm scrolling very fast. We have this beautiful search option that we have. So what you would do, you would just click on the search, and then you just type in signature. Let's see. And if I scroll down, you do have your signature date, and now it's been set on date. This is the default one, remember? And now I just want to see it under a blank line. Then now I'm going to go back to my trust financials, and I'm going to refresh my financials. And while I wait for it to refresh, and if I quickly scroll down, now I have a blank line instead of an actual date, and I can just produce these financials to the directors, and they will sign whenever they're done discussing the issues. Right. So the next item, which is the last item that I have, it's how to match your admin and other expenses. If I quickly go to the financial statements, if I go to my comprehensive income, I have all this distribution costs, I have this administrative expenses, and I also have other expenses. But I don't want to see any of this on my separated. I just need all of this to be on one line item because that is just too much for me, and it's just too separated. So now we do have a function that will take all the distribution and the admin expenses, and it will merge it over to other expenses. And once more, back to our client setup. And if we do that, I'll just cancel the search, and I can just go back and I scroll down. I'm looking for the merge admin and other expenses. I scroll down here. You would see there just after our short distribution on statement of changes in equity, we do have our merge admin and distribution costs into other expenses, right? So I'm just going to show it again. So now this is currently how it looks like. 1, 2, 3 expenses, and I need to only show one row. Back to my client setup, I'm going to click on there. If I go to my statement, my comprehensive income, this is now how it would look. All of that has been merged into one row and one item instead of 3 separate items. So that's one of our beautiful features of merging your admin and other expenses into one row instead of having all these multiple ones. So yeah, so that's it from me, and I am going to return the mic back to our giraffe whisperer. Go ahead, Nicole.
Masebo, thank you, you little rock star, you. Yeah, highlighting those features is phenomenal because what I actually love about Draftworx, as you just so lovely showed, that switch from your statement of comprehensive income or your cash flow method or the merging. Imagine how much time that is actually saving you, because I now don't have to go insert rows, cut, copy, paste, literally click a button and wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. There, I've got what I was looking for. So Masebo, thank you so much. I think I am done with the client setup. So I'm going to hand over to our Superman of the day. Christo, back to you.
Oh, thanks so much. Thanks so much, Nicole. Thanks so much, Masebo. Maybe just one little thing to add there for everyone that's looking at those awesome settings and thinking how we came up with anything. The truth is we didn't come up with all of it. A lot of those things came as requests from you guys. And sometimes we get a request from a client and it's so amazing. We like, let's implement it next build, let's go. And we just push to get that thing in there. So to emphasize again, if you've got any cool ideas, anything that can especially save you time, like all of those settings Matebo's shown, yeah, let us know. Send through a message, tell us, yes, you know what would be nice if we could customize like this or switch between this and this. And yeah, we'd add those settings in for you, and it's just makes the product better for everyone at the end of the day. All right, so we've completed the client setup. We've gone and set all the details up. We've pulled in all of the information. The next step that we're going to do is we need to pull in the financial data. Obviously, it's very nice to have a bunch of information about my client, but without financial data, we can't have financials. And that's where we're going to be working now. First thing that we always take a look at is our working trial balance. We also have a journals over there that we can take a look at. There's a very simple cash book as well, and then there is the financials themselves. So obviously I can jump into the financials right now if I wanted to, but there'd be no information, so there'd be no point to really do that just yet. So I need to start at the start. I'm going to bring in information via the working trial balance. So I select that little option over there, and we're going to see the working TB. It loads up on my side. Obviously at the moment, no rows to show. There's no information here. We can take a quick look and we can start pulling in information. So if you'd like, you can immediately start typing in. If you type in on the green bar, hit enter, there you go. I can create myself a line item. Nice and easy. You can go put in an amount and go from there. However, obviously we don't want to do it manually. We're all about time saving. So the ideal option is to import our data on our side. So there's a couple of import options. There are direct imports over here, and those are from our cloud partners, Sage, Xero, QuickBooks. We partner with all of them to pull data directly into Draftworx. And then additionally, you can import manual imports from either Excel or a caseware if you are switching over. The first import that I'd like to show you guys today is the Excel import. And that's essentially our import. If all else fails, we do Excel import and pull in the data from there. These days, I really like using the direct imports, so I'll show that to you guys now in a little bit, just because there's a few nice things that we've added there that just enhances the experience a whole lot. But let's start with an Excel import. So Excel import, there's a little button here to select, and it's going to ask me to select a file. I'm going to select the file, and here I have a TB that I can go and import. Double click on that, and it opens up that little Excel document right here on my screen. All right, Excel's opened up. You can see I've got sheets at the bottom. I can shift between, and I can start importing my data. Now the data that I want to import here, Draftworx needs to understand the data. Obviously, I can't just click import because it doesn't understand the information at the moment. It needs to know where are the account numbers, where are the account names, where are the debits, where are the credits. It needs to essentially know where all of that information is. And so starting off, I'm going to say, okay, first thing, my account numbers. Where are they? Select the little box, click on it once, and in my Excel, I'm going to find my account numbers. In this case, I'm going to go here and say, okay, account numbers are in column C, starting in row 5. And so I select the cell C5, and it starts pulling in that information. So you'll see here it's given me a little C at the top here next to account number, essentially just saying, okay, this is where we see the data. And then the preview also gives us a snapshot of what the system is picking up. This one's quite important. Just sometimes you've got your numbers formatted as text, and then Draftworx doesn't read it nicely. So always have a look at like what your information pulls in here in the preview. Additionally, then we can go and do account names. So I can select account name and then select my account name. Now I hear all of you asking already, but Christo, a lot of accounting systems these days don't even have account numbers anymore. They just look like this. They just have an account name and that's all they have. That is perfectly fine. You can go and select your account numbers and just make it the name as well. So you can see I've selected both column D for both of those. The information doubles, but it's not going to cause any issues at all. As long as all of your account names are unique, you shouldn't have a problem. So just be aware of that. We have had clients where they accidentally go or they think they need account numbers, and they go in the Excel and they number account numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and all the way down to, account number 500, which is fine and well for the very first year that you do it. But the second year, you do it now in my Excel, I have got on row 350, there's 3 new accounts. And if I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down on Excel again, I'm going to be essentially offset with those 3 accounts. And it's quite a nightmare to fix if you don't realize that it's happening. So please just be aware of that. Use the account name twice rather than going to make up your numbers in the Excel. It is something we've seen once or twice, and it's never nice to fix, and takes quite a bit for the client to sort that out. The rest of the information, easy. Debit amounts, where are they? In my case, column J. Credit amounts, column K. All of the info is there. Again, if you've got them combined, so I've got column I over here, where I've got everything combined. Well, guess what? I can again select the same column for both, and anything negative, the system's automatically going to pull to credit. So if it's a combined column, it just pulls them all to credit. There are a couple of other options here: link, map number, type, client name. Not too much to worry about. The link/map numbers, if you are pulling in an Excel from either another Draftworx file that has the linking, or from a Caseware file, we do a conversion on the Caseware numbers that they do into our link numbers. It copies around 80% of converts about 80% of the numbers. It's really convenient for those files. The type, we rarely use this. We built it for some of our corporates. If you want to do divisional reporting, you can in the Excel tell it you want income statement 1, 2, 3, 4, and that you will link to type, and it will then split out your income statement to whichever division you want to split it out to. And then the last thing is client name, and I've seen this come up a little bit, so I'll mention it today. But we've seen it come up in the consolidations. Now, what we used to have in cloud is the consolidations were limited to, you had to go and create a file in Draftworx, pull in the data there, create another group entity, pull in the information there, and then you could only consolidate from existing files in Draftworx into your consolidated entity. We have now changed that. So you are now able to go, and if you have a client name for an entity, and you've got it in Excel, you've got company A, B, C in Excel, you can go and choose that column. So if it's similar to this one here, you can see I've got in my column A, I've got my company names. I can go and choose that, and it's now going to allow you to import that consolidation trial balance into Draftworx without having to create each separate entity in Draftworx. So a nice time saver that we have on our side as well. All right, so that is everything that I have selected here. Let's just make sure everything looks good. There you go. CDJK, that looks good. Everything's imported. There's 2 things to take a look at here. From row. Now this from row should be from where your data starts. The system does auto allocate it when you do the very first selection. When I do the account number selection, it auto allocates that to row 5 because I selected the cell over here. All right. That being said, if you haven't selected it, or you selected the column header, you'll see it goes to 1. Make sure that that's just the start of your data. Otherwise, if it is 1, you can see it's pulling in my name and a date and the headings, all kinds of things that you don't really need. So just make sure that goes down to 5. And then the other thing we like to take a look at here is the import into. Now, 99% of the time, if you're doing annual financials, you are going to leave it as opening balance. It's not your opening balance for the year. It is your opening balances before you finalize the set of financials. So it's your closing figures from the client, but you as the auditor, as the accountant, you're probably going to do a few adjustments still. You can do those adjustments in Draftworx, and that's why we call this the opening balances. The only time you're really going to change this is if you are doing monthly management accounts. So if I'm doing monthly accounts, month 1, 2, 3, 4, I can go and select that there. And that pulls in each month separately. That's the idea for the monthly management accounts, but we'll cover that a little bit more in the advanced session. So I'm happy with this selection and I am going to import, and it pulls in all of my data. And you can see that previous little client or account that I created still stays there. It's not going to change that. But now I actually have my data in from my existing file. And I can go and do work from here and change things and so on. Now that's all well and good. Excel import, very nice, very convenient. Today I want to change it up a little bit. I am going to import a direct import for us because I want to show you all the cool things we've been working on. We have been doing some really fantastic things with the direct imports, and I'd love to highlight them to you today. So I'm actually going to delete this TB, and maybe just a warning there. You'll see I've got this little delete button. We've got a couple of different options here. The top options, most dangerous, clear working trial balance. These will wipe out everything that I have here. You can delete selected if you want to delete a single line. You can clear the link numbers. So once we get into the linking, I'll show you how to link. But once you've got linking in place, we can wipe out that linking. We can zero my balances as well for the year. So it would just zero my amounts and leave the accounts in place. And then I can remove empty accounts, which is actually the most useful one. All that does is any account that is zero across all my years, it removes from the TB because, well, if it's zero across all the years, you don't even need to tag it. It's not really going to affect your financial statements in any way. So that is the delete options. I'm going to just clear this because I want to import from one of our accounting softwares. So clean TB, everything is clean here. To import from our accounting softwares, it is really simple. You'll see we've got the different options. So these are our 3 main providers in South Africa. We are. If you have any other provider that you're using and they are completely online, they've got an API we can connect to, send us information. We'd love to have a chat with them and see if we can connect. In this case, firstly, I'm going to say, cool, let's pull through from Sage. I'm going to put in my Sage password or username and password that I've got on my side. I'm going to log in. This connects to Sage. It goes through and it's going to bring back a list of essentially client files or companies that I have access to, all right, in my accounting software. And all of them work the same. So we link to QuickBooks Zero and Sage. We can now select over here whichever accounting package I want to use or whichever client file I want to pull in. So I'm going to pull in Draftworx training. There's a couple of options here. I can import monthly balances, which very conveniently pulls in each month separately. So if you're doing those management accounts, you can do that. We also have a couple of extra options. The remove empty accounts, I never untick this. All that does, again, when we pull the data from Sage, we pull in the whole TB, whether that account has a value in or not. So this removes out those ones that are zero valued. We can automatically link from Sage. What's convenient with that is what we did is we went and looked at Sage's or default trial balance, and we went through and we matched that up with our linking. So when you automatically link over here, it does that. And we did that for all the products. So we did that for QuickBooks, we did that for Xero, and we matched up those linkings to try and make your life easier at the end of the day. And we do have one additional tick here, and you can see it's grayed out. And this is my favorite new feature from last year. We pulled it in, I think, later the end half of last year, but it's an opening balance check. I'm going to show that to you guys in a little bit because for me, it's one of the best features that we have released on cloud. I'm very proud that we got it sorted out. It just makes life 1,000 times easier. But for now, I'm going to import like this as is and import, and it's going to go to Sage. It's now going to go to the accounting package, pull the data through, and I've got my 2025 information in here. Now, from this, I obviously want to pull in comparative years, right? We can't just pull in the 1 year. We need multiple years in a set of financials most of the time, unless it's the first year of trading. But let's pull in data from the prior years. So you'll see there's a little button here, Add Prior. I simply click on that. And it creates a 2024 for me at the top here. Now, you can see my accounts have all stayed. My balances are just 0. If I want to go back to 2025, just click there. And now it's back to 2025. My balances are here. But I can create multiple years back. So now I've got 2024. Let's go and pull that data in. Now this is where the direct imports is a nice speed improvement on the Excels, because usually with the Excel I'd need to go and do all those selections again. With the direct imports, select it. It's going to remember that I connected to Draftworx training. I can simply make my selections on the tick boxes again and import the data. And it goes for the next year. So going backwards is very fast. It pulls through information, and then again, I want to do, let's say, 3 years. Just a note on that. Ideally, if you have 3 years of data for your client, pull in 3 years of data into Draftworx. It gives us the ability to automate more for you. If you only pull in 2 years of data, then essentially that doesn't let us go and automate your prior year cash flow mainly. Or your prior year PPE and so on. So if you've got 3 years of data, pull that in. I'll pull in my 3rd year just to make life easier. And we've got 3 years. And just like that, everything is in my file and I'm ready to go. So super convenient. Now, one of the things that I wanted to show you here, I'm going to do it a little bit of a strange way. So usually you'll see the opening balance test in the roll forward. So I would have done 2024 in Draftworx. I would have rolled forward into 2025. Then I would run that opening balance test. But in this case, I'm just going to go and we're going to actually go and do it incorrectly. So let's say an amount's changed on your accounting system versus what it is in Draftworx. Let me just check here. That needs to be positive. So I've gone and manually changed some amounts. Obviously, never really want to do this. But I've gone and manually changed amounts. And those amounts never actually made it back to my accounting system. All right. Sorry. There you go. I need to make that 60. So I went and changed amounts. Never made it back to the accounting system. But in the financials, those values had changed. Now, that is where, I'm sure you guys would know, that's where opening balance tests come into play, right? We need to check whether our prior year trial balance that was used to create the financial statements matches up our prior year figures in our accounting software. And this is one of the coolest features. Like I said, I really love it. So if I do that import, this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the opening balance check activated and I'm going to import. And the system's going to run it, imports my data like normal. But then secondly, it runs a test and it goes and checks, does my prior year accounting system balance match my prior year Draftworx balance? So there you can see I've got my balance from the accounting system. There's my balance from Draftworx, and there is a difference. So it's highlighting the difference for me. It does this in seconds. Usually this would require export from one location, export from Draftworx, sit into Excel, copy, paste, put in a formula to minus things. This is instant, and it shows you the differences, highlights the info for you. It's going to tell you there's differences. If there is, if there isn't, it will give you a green check mark. It will say everything is perfect, no worries. There's a few additional things we have here. So one of the things that I am able to do is I'm actually able to go through and export this to Excel. And we're also busy taking a look at a way to create a quick journal. And I'll show that in the advanced. So not to be done too lightly, but there is a way to do a quick journal from here, which essentially corrects those out of balance values for me so that I don't sit with the retained earnings problem. Super convenient. Yeah, one of the things that just makes life easier. As I said, I'm very, very happy we got this in. It's one of the features I'm the most proud of that we got in last year. Very, very cool. Anyway, let me go correct my TV so we don't have problems later on. And then we can get to the linking. So the next part is linking. That's the most important part of your Draftworx, right? So when you do the linking, essentially what it does is you're telling Draftworx where everything needs to go. At the moment, Draftworx has no idea where any of this information needs to go, where does it need to sit in the financials, which note would need to appear, all of those things. So we need to tell it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the linking on my side, and the easiest way to do it is we've got this little button here, show hide link numbers, and I simply select this. It splits my screen in two, and now what we have is on the left hand side we've got the trial balance as is, as I imported it into the system. On the right hand side we now have a long list over here of all of the Draftworx link numbers, and you can see the list just kind of keeps going. It's about 4,800 lines, last I checked. So that is our link list. So if I'm looking for something, I need to now tell Draftworx that this account over here, account payables, is linked to, well, one of the Draftworx links that matches up to account payables. And the way that we do that is we can assign linking here. So to understand this screen over here, what we can look at, we've got a few things. We've got link numbers, which you'll see is a unique number for every single one of the links that we have. They are categorized in certain values and so on, which I think Nicole's going to be doing that in the working papers training session. So please join that. We should explain how this linking system works, and there's a whole theory behind it. It's not just random numbers that we came up with. The details is from our side where this information is going to go. So we can look at things. There's a loan to from group company, so we pull that in there. There's a type, and that's very simple. Type is either balance sheet or income statement. We've got a disclosure description, and that's the wording that will be used on the financials, and I'll show you a few nice things there. And then lastly, we've got the category. The category is actually one of the nicer ones on this list. If you can't see it clearly, you can always expand your column just as a note. But the category is one of the nicer ones that we have here, because the category is going to select where this goes. It tells you where this link is going to link this data to. So we oftentimes you'll have, okay, this is a current asset. So have a look at the category and make sure that your linking is correct. So let's go through that quickly. I'm going to do a few links and we'll just kind of show you how we do it. It's a bit of a process. The first time that you do a file, the linking does take a little bit of time. It is one of the things that takes practice in Draftworx as well to make sure you know where everything goes. What's convenient is you only do it once per client. Next year I don't have to do it again. And yeah, we save all of the information. If you've got a group companies, you can actually also copy the linking into Excel and pull it into your other group file, or you can use the copy client file, which we did earlier. But yeah, the linking process. So let's start over here. We're going to say, okay, cool, we've got account payables. Let's look for account payables. If we search that in the little orange bar, we get nothing. Okay, what's going on? Remember that our wording tries to be as generic as possible. So if you search something in full, you sometimes are not going to get that on your site. You're not going to pick it up. So what's unique about this? The payable section is probably the most unique. I'm going to take out the accounts in my little search bar here in the orange, and you'll see we end up with a very short list, and all of these links have the word payables in them. And I just need to select the one that's correct. So account payables, I'm going to say, hey, there you go. The one at the very top, trade payables, that looks correct to me. Let's double check it. Let's make sure. The type is balance sheet. Fantastic. That is correct so far. and the category is current liabilities. Account payables, trade payables, current liabilities. This looks good to me. How do we get it across? Very easy. It's a double click. Boom, it's across. And we can now do the same, right? So now I'm going to go to the next one. Account payables, account receivables. Hey, let's try out this. I'm going to say trade. And hey, there's account trade receivables at the top. Double click, pulls it across. All right, so very easy to just go and do the linking. We can go and clear that out. You'll see there's a little filter bar icon as soon as I type. So let's search for bank charges. As soon as I type, a little filter icon appears over here, so I can clear the filter. If you ever see something weird, or nothing appears in Draftworx, or like it's a blank one and you're not sure what's going on, try and clear the filter if you see it. Sometimes you've accidentally put in, a symbol in type or something like that. You just haven't noticed it. So keep an eye out for that. But in this case, let's keep it going. Bank charges. There's our next one. Double click. And we're going to go straight on to our different banks. So we've got some banks. You will see over here something to point out. We've got our bank charges, and we've got bank balances bank balances, not charges. But we've got bank balances 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, we've got a few options in Draftworx. Do you want to show the bank balances as one lump sum? Well, that's perfectly fine. Link both of these to bank balances 1, and we're going to combine it for you. So you can see I've got 2 bank balances here, right? So I've linked them both to the same link number. And what that then means is that the same link number, essentially, they're going to be combined on my side. So if I want to split them, I can go, okay, let's rather do bank balances 2, and then we can do the split over here and go from there. With the linking process, it's really as simple as that. We go through and we do the linking for the whole file. A little bit of a step-by-step. We go through, we read everything. But one of the other things that I wanted to show you, and just before we break, I see there are some T icons floating around. We'll have a quick break in a second or two. So one of the things that I wanted to show you, and it's another development that we did early last year, very, very cool feature, is smart linking. What the smart linking does is it goes and does the linking for me. Saves me a ton of time. I don't have to go and do all of this manually. We went through and we trained machine learning. We did a little bit of work there, got a machine learning app going, and it went and it read through all of the different links that we have on our side, and it kind of understood where they should go. So if I click on the smart linking, very cool feature. I'm going to say, yes, I'd like to run through the smart linking. And it goes and it does the linking for me. Very, very nice, right? It does all this linking for me. You can see it gives me then a prediction, or not a prediction, a confidence level of what it chose here. So you can see there's 73%. So it's saying it's 73% confident in everything that it chose. With a high level, medium, and low confidence level. So I can see how many of each of those it went through. But what I can then do is I can say, okay, and you'll see we have a new column over here, which has a percentage in, and that's the actual smart link percentage that the system has gone through and chosen. So you can see it's relatively confident in certain items. If we go down to retained income, very, very confident in that. If we look at this depreciation line item, it's not very confident in that selection. So go through, have a look at what it's done, but super convenient. One of the things that's really a time saver, and you can always go and change things there on your side. One thing to mention about depreciation, it's quite an important one that we see quite regularly. If you have all of your depreciation summed into one location on your side, which often happens. We've got all of the depreciation to one place, but I've got furniture and fittings and I've got motor vehicles. I need to split out the depreciation in Draftworx, so just be aware of that. I think we can probably take a quick break, and then what I'll do is once we've done that, I'm going to finalize the info here on the working trial balance. We'll go and do a journal to fix up the depreciation, and then we'll jump into the financials. We've done a few things. We've already imported, shown you guys that. We've gone and done some manual linking on our side, and then we also ran the smart linking, very cool new feature that goes and uses machine learning to figure out where everything should go. Now, as I said just before we quickly ran out for tea, that the smart linking is one of those things that we are improving. It does do a guess. So it's a machine. It does a guess of where the things should go. So it isn't always perfect. You do need to go and double check it, make sure that it is correct. And that's why we do have these little percentages to show you. It's just to guide you. Go and take a look, especially at the very low percentages. Make sure everything's correct, and it's going to help you at the end of the day. As we continue with the linking, so we did end a little bit quickly there. There's a few more things that I need to definitely show you, and one of the important ones was I mentioned depreciation just before we had our break. Now, oftentimes your depreciation is lumped into one number on your accounting system. In this case, you can see quite clearly I only have the one, but I have two groups of assets. You can see if I make this a little bit bigger, I've got furniture and fittings and motor vehicles. Now, I need to split out that depreciation on my side just because Draftworx needs to know where that depreciation needs to go. And the way that we do that, we actually just create a new account. So I'm going to create a new account. Let's make it for that furniture and fittings. And you can see I just clicked on the green bar at the top here. I can copy paste this across. And I can actually choose the link as well. Over here, I'm going to go and choose the link. We're going to say it's an expense. We're going to depreciation. And I'm going to go there, furniture and fittings depreciation. Double click on that and the link has been selected. And then there's two ways to do it. I can either type in a value here directly. So let's say that depreciation was 25,000. We're going to go and select that. That's one way to do it. The problem with doing that is you run the risk of throwing your trial balance out of balance. That is all accountants' nightmares. I'm sure you guys remember from varsity days. No one ever likes when we still had to manually actually get our trial balance to balance. These days, all the softwares do it for us. But if you do manually type in Draftworx, you can throw your TB out. So be wary of that. You will see I've now typed in that 25. At the very bottom here, the system has given me a value of 25,000, and it's telling me that my TB is out of balance. So if you go and do that, just be very wary of that. We've seen quite a few times that happens. When you start typing in things, you can run the risk of going out of balance. The better way to do it, and I'm actually going to quickly zero out this account, is to actually go do a journal. So we've got our depreciation, and we've got depreciation here. So we already have the two. So let's go do a journal. And then there's two reasons for that. One, it keeps a record of my prior, my journals. So when the auditors ask, hey, listen, what did you do? We've got that record of journals and so on we can fall back on. Or if you're not doing this set of financials next year, somebody else is taking over. If you do journals, it records everything for them. Essentially what you did makes their life easier in the future, or your own life if you don't remember what you did last year. So I'm going to quickly do a journal here. I'm going to go financial data, journal entries, and we're going to do a quick adjusting journal. So very easy to do a journal. We go here to the right-hand side. You'll see there's a green bar where we can create a new journal. We're going to choose the type of journal. So is it a normal adjusting journal, a drafting journal, overs and unders for the audits? There is not recorded, which means we're actually not recording this journal. It's a temporary like off switch. And then there's a standing journal. If you want this journal to happen every single year, you can actually make it a standing journal. So very, very useful. In this case, I'm going to say it's a drafting journal because it's not an adjustment. It's not something that I actually want to send back to the accounting system. I'm just doing it for the sake of drafting. I'm going to go and give it a description. So let's say dep journal, and we can give it a reference and hit enter. So it creates that journal for me. The next step that I have to do is I actually have to go and choose the accounts that are affected by this journal. Now I can either scroll through the list over here on the little drop down to find my account, or I can simply type in, and there you can see if I type in depreciation, then it filters out those depreciation accounts, and there I can find it. So we're gonna go the one depreciation we need to credit, right? We need to pull out the 25 from our existing depreciation, and then we want to find our other one, the new furniture and fittings one, and we want to debit that one. And really, it's as easy as that to do a journal in Draftworx. Type in the amounts. Anything negative is a credit, anything positive is a debit. And as I save, it saves that journal. This immediately affects my working TB. So if we hop back to the working TB, there's my two depreciation items. And now you'll see there's an additional, in this additional adjustments column, we have those amounts. The 25,000 is getting pulled out of our depreciation for the motor vehicles and into the furniture and fittings. So really simple to do that. Another awesome thing that we can do with this journal, if I realize that I needed to do the same journal last year and it wasn't done or something along those lines, select your journal, copy into the prior tax year. I click of a button, my journal gets copied. You can see it shifted to 2024 over here. And now if I go again back to my working TB, we'll have that 25,000 in both years. So super convenient, super quick to actually just go and do a nice journal to fix it up. This is a drafting journal, so it doesn't go back to my accounting system. We'll cover this in advance, but I want to mention it's one of the very, very cool features. Again, with our direct imports, our direct exports. If I start making adjusting journals to fix things, so my client allocated a bank charge incorrectly, or he allocated some expense correctly, if you fix it in Draftworx, you can push that back using these direct exports back into your accounting system. It goes and writes the journal for you. You don't need to write it again. They can just accept it and the journal gets applied to their file. So the idea there is you do a bunch of journals for the year end, whatever it might be, and you push those back. We're going to cover it in depth and advanced. Fantastic feature. And just another one to point out, that's only available obviously on the direct imports because we've got that connection with the other companies. Makes life super, super easy. All right, jumping back into our working TB. If we go over this, important thing to note, I have a blank line. Marshmallows has not been done. I think possibly a Nicole got into my trial balance. But we have a Marshmallows account over here. And you can see it's not been linked. So why hasn't it been linked? We ran the smart linking. So the smart linking is essentially something that it tries its best. If it cannot figure out where the heck Marshmallows goes, because which company has that, it just leaves it blank. Now, important to note, if I try to open the financials now, it's going to tell me, no. You can't go and open the financials because something is still not linked. So we don't allow you to open up the financials with something unlinked. So just be aware of that. We do spot it often. If you've got a very long trial balance, I've got a short 1 year, so it's easy. If you want to pull up all the blank links to the top, if you just click on the link, it pulls all of the blank ones to the top. It makes it very easy to link. Now I quickly want to link that. Let's go Marshmallows, perfectly fine. We're going to go there. We're going to click on this little blue box. That's a quick link. It pops open the link list. It's that same list that we had on the right-hand side earlier, but it's now a pop-up. Exactly the same list. It's a little bit, can be faster if you're doing like a single link. If you're doing multiple links, I suggest the split screen. But we can do it like this. And we can search, same orange bar as before. We can search, and I'm going to search marshmallows. And obviously nothing shows up. Draftworx doesn't provide for marshmallows. So what are we going to do? We're going to go and we are going to say, what is this? This is an expense. So we're going to say this is an other expense. And that other expense terminology, we've got placeholders for everything. So we've got placeholders, other expenses 1 through 20. All right. We can kind of keep space for 20 different unique items that this company might have. So this company has a unique expense. It's called marshmallows. I want to record it, and we want to have the wording say marshmallows on the actual financials, right? We wanted to say that. So I'm going to choose other expenses 1, but the disclosure description column, that's where I'm also going to now modify that to say marshmallows. So what happens if I do this and I select that item? Obviously, it is now linked, and you'll see it sits over there. But now what happens is we take this wording that I put in the description, and that description is pulled through to my financials. All right, so it's just a nice, easy, quick way to kind of go and do it. Yeah, makes life easy to do the linking and to do the wording changes. You do it in one place. Again, you don't have to go and say Control F, find, and search through your whole file for everywhere that says other expenses 1 and modify it manually. So that's the idea that we've got on our side. And pretty much that is our linking. A few things to note. We need to go and double check, right? Sometimes the auto linking, so I did run that auto linking. It's not always perfectly accurate. You can see it might need some adjustment. So here I've got my furniture and fittings, and I've got my accumulated depreciation. Let me go fix that up and just say it's accumulated depreciation. It's not the direct asset. And I can quickly read through here. Inventory, that looks good. Just want to quickly check here. Here I've got a shareholders loan. Again, just double check trade receivables. It's actually been linked incorrectly. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to search owner because the shareholders are the owners. And I'm going to use one of these links. Now, an important one to note here as well is you'll see the category says it just says current. And what that means is the system will decide whether it's a current asset or a current liability for you. It's going to automatically do that. So if you do, if it sees that it's a credit, it takes it to liabilities. If it sees that it's an asset, a debit, it takes it to assets. So it automatically figures it out for you, makes it nice and easy. And we'll say, okay, loan to from owner, double click, and we pull it through. So really as easy as that to go and do my TB, fix it up, make sure everything looks good. Just to touch on a few more settings here, pretty much done with the working trial balance, but you are able to see the period. So if you do have monthly data, you can show the monthly TB. It will split your amounts into 12 for each month separately. We can export this whole thing to Excel. We can view a PDF report of your trial balance. You can also drill down, so that's quite useful. If you have done multiple journals, I can actually do a little drill down, and it's going to just show you, maybe I'll quickly touch on that. It's going to show you a little drill down of the Draftworx journals. So very quick and easy. Consolidations we'll cover in the advanced session, as well as the disclosure updates and the add links. That's my working trial balance done. So everything is linked. My trial balance is in balance. We can check with the zeros at the bottom. So we're good to go. We're going to go jump in and take a look at the financials. So for the financials, financial data, and I'm going to go to IFRS SME Plus financials. Select that, and we go through, and it opens up our financials now. It takes a second or two to load. We essentially download this file to your computer, and then it runs a bunch of calculations, and it opens up our, well, Excel-like document is what we always call it. So Excel-like because you can see as I click around, it's got little cells just like Excel. If I go to my note sheet, you'll see, hey, we've got the little lines, we've got the rows and the columns, everything like Excel. Why did we do this? We didn't just copy paste Excel. We've gone and redeveloped this to work specifically with Draftworx, to do financials easily, and especially to get it to work in cloud. Our biggest hurdle when we have been developing cloud has been to get this Excel document to run efficiently on your system. And it's one of the things we strive for. In the advanced, we'll go through a few cool new features that this is also getting. But yeah, some crazy technology there, and we have one of our devs, well, head devs for the spreadsheet portion is Marius. What a smart guy. But anyway, I'll maybe if we're lucky, we get to meet him in the advanced, and you can say hi. So as I said, Excel-like. So you can see at the bottom here, click through everything. We've got little sheets that we can roll through. If I select anything, hey, check that there's formulas similar to Draftworx. I can expand them, double click the formula, it opens up the formulas for me, all of those kind of things. So we're going to go through this set of financials, and we need to go make sure everything is good. So we start on the cover page. Okay, the information here pulls through from my client setup. So earlier, Nicole went and she put in the registration number for us. There you go. Registration number is now automatically pulling through. Index page, not much to worry about there. We're gonna do the page numbering for you. We'll fix that all up for you. You can generally just leave that as is. Management info, again, all of Nicole's hard work. The client setup information pulls through. There's my directors. There's my nature of business. All of this information pulls through automatically. Now, sometimes what you do get, especially on this management or general info sheet, you sometimes get a little bit of a repeat of words. So if I use an example, let's say here we've got our registered office, our business address, and sometimes even the postal. Now, for this company, they're exactly the same. Some companies, have variations on that, but this one, they're exactly the same. I don't want to always repeat this. So what am I going to do? I just want to show registered office. I'm not going to bother showing the same thing twice. We want to have nice and neat set of financial statements. You'll see we have a lot of sections on the financial statements grouped off, essentially. So they've got a heading, and then they've got a little box here on the side. That box is currently a minus, meaning it is expanded, it's open. You can see the box. The line going out of the box is pretty much from year down to year. So all of this is part of the business address. So if I want to not show this, I can simply close that expansion. And what's going to do, if a item is closed, we're not going to show that data when we do the print. So it's just not going to show it. So it's very easy for me to go through and just close a bunch of things that I don't want to. Now, I don't have to close everything here. So you can see again, we can see we've got these pay-as-you-earn numbers, UIF, all these things. And I don't want all of them. They're all blank in any way. I don't have to go and close. That would be an utter waste of time. So what we do on our side as Draftworx is we can choose certain rows to show and hide. And in a lot of places, we've automated it for you. So we've automated this that if the system picks up that there's no VAT number in this case, it's just not going to print that whole row. And the way that I can see it is you can see the blue lines that run through this whole row. You can see it's going across all the way to here. That is essentially indicating to me that these are non-printing rows. You can even see if we look at registered office, for interest's sake, you can see in the gap where we had space for additional details, if the office details was longer, it would have put that in. But because there's nothing here, we're not going to hide, we're not going to print those rows. So anywhere you see these blue hash lines, you can pick up, okay, this isn't going to be printed, okay, this is going to be printed, and I can go through my file and I can make sure I'm only printing what I want. Without having to go and manually close every single little section of the file. And this is extended pretty much everywhere in the financials. Now, in some places, we do the work for you. As I said here, we automatically pick up, okay, no VAT number, no pay-as-you-earn number, don't fill that data in. if we go to something like our director's report, here you can see we're also kind of going through and putting some things active and some things not. But generally, you've got a little bit more control over here in terms of what you want to show and what you don't want to show. We are going to default things for you. So if we look at my going concern note over here, we have defaulted this paragraph and it is active at the moment. You can see it's got a white background. There's no blue lines. The other paragraphs here, however, which are part of going concern, if I look at the grouping comes all the way down to here. So all of this is part of that going concern. So none of those blue lines are going to print. Only these are going to print. Okay, but I can control that because Draftworx is assuming here. We're going and saying this is one of the paragraphs that is most used. So we're going to activate it for you. But every company has a unique going concern situation, right? Some companies have different things, all these things. So we need to choose which one's relevant to our company. If I want to deactivate this one because it's not relevant, so I'm going to go through and this one's now going to be deactivated. What do? I click on the little dot on the side here. And you can see it automatically goes, it's now got those blue lines and it's been deactivated. To activate a different paragraph, so let's go down here, let's activate this paragraph. Same thing, we're going to go to the little dot. This time you can see it's not dark, it's not filled in. So we're going to click on it and it fills itself in, and there you go. We have an activated paragraph. So it's as easy as that to activate, deactivate, change, whatever is needed. If you're not happy with any of our paragraphs, so not one of these suits you, very easy to insert your own paragraphs. If you select some items, let's select these two, I want to insert a new paragraph above this one. I can right click and say insert row. This is very familiar to Excel, right? You guys, I'm sure, can pick this up. I'm going to insert 2 rows and the system's going to insert those 2 blank rows for me. And there you go, done and dusted. And now I can go type up my own paragraph over there, whatever I want. If you want to use one of the Draftworx paragraphs and you want to edit it, double click. Oh gosh, look at this formula. I haven't done Excel in many years. I'm not sure what to do. If I try and edit here, let's say, hello. Oh gosh, I've gone and broken up the formula. This is now a problem. One of 2 things. Hop onto our support and I'll show you guys the support later. Our support guys are formula gurus. All of them know how to fix our formulas up. Fantastic stuff. Another option that you can do, quite a nice one, copy this. So I can select this, copy it, go up to here to the top, right click and say paste values. So check what that's done now. So it's copied this exact same paragraph, but now if I double click, hey, I don't have any formulas anymore. And so that's one of the nicest things that we can do. It's very customizable, very easy to go and modify anything in Draftworx, and it just makes life easier when you are doing quite a custom set. The point of our stuff is to do it. We try and do as much as we can for you, but every client's unique, and that's why we have to make customization easy for you. All right, going on. Let's hop through to our report audit. You'll see we've got an auditor's report. We also have a review report and a compiler's report. So we might not want all of these. So for example, I've got a report audit here. Now I'm not auditing today. We're going to take it casual. We're just doing a compilation. There's no time for an audit. So we're going to go to content, and content at the top here. This is our ribbon bar. So at the top here, click on content and you'll see we've got this list over here. And this list is essentially all of our sheets. If you take a look, there is my report audit sheet. There's my report review. They're next to each other. So then they're in the same order that they are at the bottom here. If I don't want something, simply click on that. So here I'm simply going to click on report audits. And you can see it disappears from the bottom list. So as easy as that, I'm going to go through and just deactivate what I don't want. And I'm left with only my compiler's report, which I'm happy with. I can again read through it, activate, deactivate columns and rows and whatever I want on my side. We go and we head to our statement of financial position. And this is where Draftworx has really started showing that it's done a whole lot of work for you. It's gone and it's pulled in all of our amounts in the correct category, in the correct place. Additionally, what it's gone and done is it's actually gone and opened up the notes for you. So if you take a look at all of these items, right? And I say, for example, we've got loans to shareholders and cash equivalents. They've got these little numbers here. And the reason they've got the number is purely because they've been opened up. The Draftworx or this client doesn't have bonds, so it's a 0, and therefore there is no note number. So Draftworx has opened up the notes as needed on our side. If I want to go and investigate a note, so let's take a look at the inventories note. We want to go see what's going on here. This little blue hyperlink, if I click on that, jumps me straight to my inventories note. Inventories comprises, and there we've got our detail. So really simple, pulls in all of that information for me, and it's in place. Now what we do on our side is with the auto open note is we open the minimum requirement according to IFRS or IFRS SME, whichever you're using. So according to IFRS, the minimum requirement, if any company, whichever company it is, if they have inventory and you want to report according in line with IFRS, you have to go have this inventory comprises of section, no matter what. And that's why we have it open, right? Because they do have inventory and therefore I'm reporting it. The thing is that we can't do for you, and it's something we'll work on one day, maybe when we start reading minds or some fun things like that. But at the moment, what we can't do is we can't know everything that has happened to this company. So let's use a silly example. Let's say this company has got their inventory pledged as security against the loan, right? So it's an agreement with the bank, between the company and the bank, and there's agreement that they have inventory pledged against the loan. So that's not something that exists in our trial balance. It's an agreement between the bank and the business. It's not something Draftworx knows about. It's something that you know about as the accountant, as the auditor. You should know about that agreement. And you should also remember that IFRS then requires us, if that agreement is in place, IFRS requires us to disclose it. And what we've got on our side is we've got the possibility to disclose those items, but you need to activate those. All right, so let's take a closer look at this inventories note. We've got our inventories note heading. We have this subnote that we've now already opened up. We have 3 additional subnotes over here that have different names, and those are possible disclosures that might be required. Again, they don't have to always, but they might be. So your job is then to be like, okay, you know what? This company does have the inventory pledge security situation going on. I see this in Draftworx. I'm going to want to go and open up this note. So to open up the note, same as what we did before on the management, the general info, man info there, we can just click on this little plus. It expands my note now, so you can see the data shows. And even though it's expanded, you can see all of these rows are still have those blue lines, right? So they're not going to print. The reason for that, again, Draftworx doesn't know the detail of that contract. That's why we've got dark blue cells in here, because these are type in value cells. We need to go and type in our own information here. So let's go and type in over here, let's say 5,000, and last year it was 10,000. And I type in the values. As easy as that. And now it's recorded. Now it's disclosed as what it should be according to IFRS. So my life's easy. Draftworx shows me where to go. It shows me what to look at. A few things to take note of. I can't type in anywhere. You'll see here in this amount at the top, we've got a formula, and this is grayed out. If I try type, nothing happens. So Draftworx is protecting those cells because it's data that pulls through from the trial balance. If data is in the TB, we don't want to be able to overwrite it easily. In the advanced, we'll cover some more details around that, how to modify if you really have to. But in the basics, just note you can't really edit. We try and show you where you're able to edit with these dark blue cells. All right. As I mentioned earlier, we do the note numbering for you. So you'll see inventories is note number 5. If I open up intangible assets, if I open up that note above it, it becomes note number 5 automatically, and inventories become 6. So they automatically count. We obviously do all of that for you. We're also able to move notes around. We'll cover some of this again probably in the advanced, but we can go ahead and move up, move down. If you click on a note heading and you go to design, move up, move down, it moves a note up or down, and you can go through it like that. A few important things to note. One of the important ones we often see is if you see an amount that you're not 100% sure about. So I take a look at my PPE and I'm like, where is this amount coming from? You can right click, you can say drill down, and what a fantastic feature, it shows me where that 720 is coming from. So it's showing me in my TB, I've got these 4 accounts, all of them added up together gives me my 720. So it's super useful, and I can actually keep this here and I can move it around. Let's say click there, and you can see it updates to my different accounts on my side. So easy. It even does totals. Very, very convenient if you aren't sure where numbers are coming from or something along those lines. So please use that drill down. Saves a lot of time if you aren't sure about where values are coming from. It even works in the cash flow. So if you're like, oh, where's these amounts coming from? Hit that drill down. It's going to show you where the values are coming from. Makes your life 1,000 times easier than having to figure it out manually and yourself. All right, let me have a look here. I do believe that we're going to have Nicole come back and fix up our status page because, the status page looks a bit rough. There's a few mistakes over here. And so
did I break something?
I think you did. So
Yeah.
I don't have time to fix this. I've got a meeting. Nicole's going to go ahead and she's going to jump into this file and she's going to continue working. So that's something I didn't point out. We're working on the same practice. So I've just closed up my file. And Nicole, if you want to grab the chair, you should be able to...
I'm going to grab it now in a second. There we go.
Should be able to hop onto the file and go from there. So fantastic. We're working on the same file. Just one of the convenience of Draftworx Cloud. And please come for the advance because we've got some cool things that's happening there as well.
Yeah, to touch on what Chris just said there, please join in on the advanced because as you can see, we're working on the same file, but we've got something really, really, really cool to show you about advanced, which actually might just be a game changer for you guys. So buckle up. It's going to be an awesome ride on Thursday. Okay. So Christo did point out I may have made a slight mistake in my file. He's too busy. So he says, go check it out. Okay. So first things first, I'm just going to touch quickly on the checklist. All right. So checklist sheet is here. Why is it here? Well, guys, we're busy preparing financials in accordance with the South African Companies Act, and I'm using IFRS for SMEs. And you know what? I actually forgot what the Act may require. So I just want to make sure I'm actually complying to IFRS for SMEs, as for an example. So Christo so lovingly showed us inventories. I'm going to go there, check what inventory says. And as a baseline, you'll see it gives me the minimum of what should be disclosed. There, I can now go jump to the accounting policies. There's my accounting policy for inventory. You know what? Let's go jump to the notes. It'll take me to where that inventory disclosure is. As you'll note, the checklist consists of quite a lot of the reporting requirements that you may require. So I like to use this if I'm looking for something or if I just want to double check myself. But also remember, if you're looking for a note and you're really struggling to find it, by all means, Chris is going to show the lovely support team off just now, and you can always ask them and they'll happily assist you with that. But Chris has now told me I've made a boo-boo. I'm looking at my status. What is the status sheet? So simply put, your status sheet is kind of there to say, okay, guys, I've looked at the financial statements, I've looked at your trial balance, and the two are not talking to each other. So theoretically, I'm looking at like a cross-cast check, just nudging me into the direction. So let's break it down a little bit. I see, okay, my statement of changes and equity is out in the prior year. My cash flow and my PPE recon are out. Oh my goodness, what did I do wrong? And I see, oh, I have a little oopsie on my tax status. Okay, so as a general tip from the cash flow point of view, if you do see anything out in your statement of cash flows, keep in mind, always check your recons first. That's your first point of view, okay? Because we read all the information through from your trial balance, but there's such things as movements that happen that we're not quite sure where they go. So that's going to be elaborated on in the note itself. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to see, okay, let's start with something simple. Property, plant, and equipment recon. Okay, I can see it's out, but I also want to highlight if my status sheet was hidden, I'd still be able to see I have a possible note mismatch. So again, I could maybe just be like, don't want to see these amounts, they scare me, let me hide it, the problem will go away. No, the problem will remind me it exists by telling me that there's a possible note mismatch. So I'm going to go to my note and we're going to break it down a bit. So what is a PPE recon note? Well, it's a reconciliation. I have my opening balances. Okay, so my opening balances in this case are clearly pulling through from my prior year trial balance and checking my fixed asset register. And I'm like, well, I'm in agreement here. Okay, 216 and 325. That's awesome. I check the depreciation accounts. Yes, those have pulled through accurately. I'm happy. Okay, so mathematically, I'm getting to a closing balance of 170 and 300,000. Looking at my fixed asset schedule, I'm like, I'm missing something here that, something's not quite right. Okay, in the current year, I acquired new assets, okay? Maybe I bought them from business combinations. Maybe I had additions and disposals and a fair value adjustment. Well, I need to just tell the system exactly what that movement consists of. So if I'm looking at my fixed asset schedule, in my case, it was just an addition. I go find and I see, okay, additions from acquisitions. I go and I put in the amount 250,000. Okay. Like you can see, there's disposals, there's some revaluations. You just need to explain the movement because at the end of the day, we're pulling in the final trial balance figures. I now go look, 280, 250. That definitely gives me 530. So the closing balance that I'm currently highlighting now pulls directly from your trial balance, okay? So that's where we pick up that there's a difference. We're noticing that initially these two figures, 420 and 420, we're not talking to each other. So status is also kind of your partner level, best friend, because you can see if things are being balanced or not. Okay. Scroll down a little bit because I know I have a prior recon. So I'm also just going to check it out while I'm here. So there, I've got my opening balances. Awesome. Okay. Again, still got differences. Why? All right. So we're having a look. Okay. Again, it was additions. We purchased something in the prior year. So I need to pull those additions in. And the beauty when I pull in these additions is that if I jump across to status, I've cleared two birds, one stone. My cash flow is now balancing, my PPE is balancing. So I'm going to jump back to my PPE recon and explain another cell. So Christo managed to obviously do the journal. Okay, we had the depreciation in one account, we split it. Maybe you've got a very time-sensitive deadline and you've got to get out a set of management accounts by 4:30 and it's 4:25 and the journal seems like a lot of work to do. I can also go and use the yellow cells in this area called rounding corrections, okay? So if I were to go and say, no, don't want the depreciation to be 45 over here, it was actually supposed to be 25, well, then go and add the 25,000. Okay, obviously it's going to throw mine out of balance, but as you can see, I'm able to move my depreciation around if I had one account and didn't have the time to go add the journal, add the new entries. I can also use my yellow cells to move my depreciation around if it is ever included in just one link. This will bring me back to my status. Okay, so my cash flow to explain. Cash flow, basically, we read the information from your trial balance. So as Christo showed you, we had the 3 years. Why do we need 3 years? Well, in order to automate as beautifully as we do, we need that third year, because what would happen is I would have 2024, which has figures. I have 2023, which has 0 balances. 24 minus 23's figures is just going to give me 2024's balances. Is that accurate in a cash flow? Not necessarily. So therefore, adding the third year would give me the accuracy of my potential movement. Now, remember, cash flow is on the assumption that every movement in your file is cash flow based, okay? If there is perhaps anything that's non-cash flow related, you would need to indicate as such. And how can one do that? Well, simply put, again, yellow cells. So we call them honesty cells. We call them rounding cells. I'll call them the minions because they do my hard work for me. So I can go and I can use them to, assist me. I have a 2 Rand here. I'm not quite sure where that 2 Rand is coming from. So Christo mentioned a cool feature called drill down. Go click on the drill down. I can see, okay, well, it's taken into account the 2 accounts payables, but there's a system value. Oh, it's my rounding. Okay, that's great. I decide, you know what, I'm just going to move that rounding somewhere else. So I can go and I can say, well, let's move the 2 Rand to over here. Not necessarily politically correct, but I can go and I can move my roundings around. Same concept applies to maybe a non-cash flow item. I can go use a yellow cell, or I can use the blue cells throughout the cash flow to incorporate those movements. Okay, and then go back to my status. Last one here, other changes not yet reconciled in my equity. So equity sheet, also big reconciliation. Accounts come through from your income statement or your other comprehensive income, but sometimes, there is movement between equity accounts. So you do need to kind of explain what that movement is. So I have a look and I'm checking it out and I see, okay, last year I had an other changes not yet reconciled of 50. Check the prior year financials. All right, we issued some equity during that year. You can see I've got a line here called issued equity. Go plug in my figures. Go check my status. No longer got that other changes not yet reconciled. I'm now balancing my reconciling items to what my trial balance says the figures should be. So again, cross-cast, partner's best friend, maybe sometimes a clerk's worst nightmare, but at least it guides you. And then the last one I've got here is the tax. So TaxCalc. Just to highlight, if you do have farming activities, you can indicate yes, it'll activate the fields for your farming relative tax related items. If you are SBC, you can indicate yes, and you can then go and tell it which tax year is an SBC. So just to highlight, currently my tax is worked out at normal tax rates. Go and say yes for 2025 because it's a small business for whatever reason. And I go and check and you'll see it's actually calculated it into the correct row for you. Okay, I'm just going to change mine back to no quickly because mine is normal tax. Now, all I need to do is do my tax calc. There's my profit before tax. I'm in agreement with it. Maybe I potentially have debit adjustments or credit adjustments I need to account for. Yes, I am a small business right now. So of course, I'm going to go and have a look and maybe I just need to find one of these options. If I don't see something available, I can select it. And as I do, you'll note that my rows kind of increase, giving me more options to add my figures in. So of course, you go add all your figures in so that you can get to your taxable income amount. All right. Then of course, calculates your tax, pulls it down through. There's your total tax for the year. This should agree to what your income statement says. And then I just need to reconcile to my balance sheet. So what happens in your tax account? Well, hopefully you're paying your taxes. If not, I wouldn't want to be you. So I need to go and say, okay, client paid 60,000 for the previous year. So we're going to put in a payment. And you know what? They paid a provisional tax of 100,000 over here. So keep in mind, payments need to be negative when you're adding it onto here. We know our clients don't really enjoy paying taxes too much, but we do have to indicate that they did. Once I go and indicate all my payments, you'll also note that I've now solved my problem and there my status sheet is cleared. I say to Christo, yo, Christo, I have corrected my status issues and the tax and all of that. Would you mind checking the file for me? And then kind of back to you, Christo.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks so much, Nicole. Let's quickly pop into that file. If you can just take a look your side. I see you have locked it. So
Oh dear. Sorry.
no problem. So maybe just a note there. You can pop in so long and unlock it. If someone else is in the file at the moment, it will tell me that she's busy working, that she has locked it up. I can go and view it as read only, or I can tell her, hey, Nicole, get out, please. And she'll get out, she'll save nicely. And then once she's done that, I'll be able to hop back into the file. That is something that should be changing relatively soon. And that's all I'll say until Thursday.
Kind of. Just see.
There you go. And I can hop back into the file. You see, it's as easy as that. Just tell your Nicole to get out of the file, whoever she might be.
Apologies.
No problem. So there you go. Now we've gone through, we've done most of our financials. I go and take a look. Status looks good, fantastic stuff. I can maybe go and close the status sheet if I don't want to show that. You know, if I didn't want to show the TaxCalc, I can remove that. There's a few things I can do here, right? So I finalize this file. I'm ready to go. Let's go take a look at the print preview. Let's look at the final document at the end of the day. So I'm going to go to Format. I'm going to click on Preview. And the preview is now going to be generated. And this is the final PDF version of this document. So you can see here, it's going to go through, generate the preview for me, and I can start taking a look at how my financials are going to look. As I said, page numbers auto-generated, beautiful, easy to look at. We've got our general info. We've got all of the information here. Whatever we decided to show, whatever we decided to hide on our side. And so running down the side here, we can also jump around the financials. If I want to jump to the cash flow, click on the statement of cash flow header. Back to the financial position, I can really jump anywhere I want on the file. It makes it nice and easy and quick to modify. On the right-hand side, we've got a bunch of edits and so on that we can go and do. We've got a settings that we can play around with. So for example, something like a watermark. If I want to add a watermark, activate my watermark, apply my watermark, and the system reloads and it generates my watermark. I've made it purple. I can change the color to whatever color you want. You can change the text to whatever you want. There's a lot of modifications that I can do here to make it look exactly like I want it. I can modify the margins as well, so you can push in the top margin down a little bit, the left and the right margin I can push in. I can tweak all of these kind of things over here, and there's quite a list here. We'll cover a few of the things in advanced as well, like pulling in a PDF into your document and those kind of things. But yeah, really simple. You can play around with these settings. You can always switch it back off. So if I want to enable a border, see how it looks, apply it. Let's go see how a page border looks. Okay, maybe I don't want that. Just disable it again. You're not stuck with anything that you've done on this screen. So that's it. We can also go and modify the cover page. So I can bring in an image, right? So if we go to our cover page, let's say my client wants me to put his logo at the front or something along those lines. Click here to create a new cover page. And then we're going to go here, drop an image. We can grab an image on my side, wherever it might be. Choose the position of that image. So let's say I want it in the top center. And we're going to apply. And as easy as that, the system goes and it pulls in a cover page for me. And there you go. We've got a nice new cover page. Our financials are done in less than a day. We've got the same with the letterheads, very similar. Where we can go and we can essentially go put a letterhead on our report of compiler. The only difference here is your letterheads are saved across your practice. So once they're set up, I don't have to do it again and again and again and again. I do it once and I'm good to go. Works exactly the same. I click on the click or drop image here, and I'm going to go and find myself a letterhead. I'm going to choose the position. Where do I want it? Let's again say top center. You can push it a little bit off of the margin. So if I want this image to be, let's say 1 centimeter from the margin, I would do that. The difference is now what I need to do is I need to go and apply this letterhead to whichever sheet I want. So the first one where we looked at the cover pages, that was only the cover page that gets affected. This letterhead I can put on any sheet. So I need to just tell it where. So in this case, I'm going to say there on the report compilation, tick my tick box and apply that change. And it goes through and it's now going to do a nice letterhead for me. So very easy to do. There is another way to do the letterheads, but I am going to give that one over to one of my awesome colleagues. Some say that he successfully got SARS to finalize an audit before submitting any supporting documents. And some say that the tax man has nightmares and they're all about him. I'd like to give you the maestro of materiality, Moritz. Moritz, please take it away, my son.
Okay, let me quickly share my screen here. Okay. Thank you, Christu, for giving me the opportunity to show an awesome cloud feature. I'm going to show you how to create your own letterhead on cloud instead of creating it on Word and converting it to image and then uploading it. So it's really easy and it's fun. So let's get started. So once you are on your preview, like Christu said, normally you can drop your image, but just below that, there's a feature, need a new letterhead, create your own here. So if I click on this, it's going to pop up a screen, which is going to be your page layout for your letterhead. From here on the left side, we can go and add a text. So for example, I can go and add Draftworx is awesome. And you can also go and move that the text to where you want it. So you can move it to the top and you can make it bigger. And if you are not happy, you can go and delete that text. From here, you can also go and add an image. So from here, I'm going to add an image. I'm going to select my header and I'm just going to place it at the top. I can make it a bit bigger and make it center. And from here, I'm going to add a footer as well. So let me go again, add an image, open that, and then put it at the bottom. From here, I'm just going to click on Save. So once I click on Save, it's going to automatically add the letterhead to my report. And you will see now my letterhead is added. But you will notice at the bottom, my footer is beneath the line and we need to move it a bit up. So it's actually really easy. You can just go back to your letterhead and then click on Edit Image. Once you click on the Edit Image, you can just go to your footer and then just move it a bit up and click on Save. And now I'm happy with that. My letterhead is added and it's pretty. And so now I can go and finalize the financials. Back to you, Christu.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Moritz. Just going to jump back and grab that screen share. So from here, we've now finalized our letterheads. Moritz has gone and made everything look nice on his side. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say, okay, let's modify. Let's take a look what's under the headers and footers. So headers and footers is actually very simple, guys. I'm going to go very, very quickly over it. Our page numbers is controlled by headers and footers. So you'll see there's a section here where we can enable, disable them. We can choose where they are. So I can have them at the bottom of the page or the top. I can have the format, so either it's just the number or I can say, page X of X or whichever it might be. We can choose the position within this thing. So if you want it in the bottom corner or anything like that, you can modify it. And you can actually change the starting at. So if you don't want it to start at 1, if you want to count the cover image and the index as page numbers, you can modify that a little bit. The formatting controls the color. Sorry, just to touch on that, controls the color, the font type, the size, all of those things of the page numbers. You can enable the date printed if you'd like. And then we also control the footer line, which at the bottom of every page, you'll see we have a little footer line that we just insert and that you can go and modify or switch on and off at least and make bigger. My custom footers is also something that's available. So if I had a unique item that I want to show that maybe I wanted to make a little note of it, you can simply go in here and type in, if I had an item in the cash flow, I will simply go and type in, let's say star ABC, and I can apply that. And that will then actually go and apply that little footer text at the bottom of my cash flow. So it's convenient if you want to make a small note on the financials or something along those lines. Then we're almost done here, guys. I think the last person I'd love to introduce to you guys today is a good colleague of ours. And well, some say that she can balance cash flows in her sleep, and that when the banks can't get their trial balances to balance, they give her a call. All I know is that she's Draftworx's own Zanria. Zanria, please take it away.
Thank you, Christy, for that introduction. And good day, everyone. I know we are all a bit OCD when it comes to our financials. So today, I'm going to show you 3 easy tricks which will come in very handy when finalizing your notes. When you print preview your financials, you will see that on your right-hand side, you have your print settings. For now, we're only going to focus on the last tab called Notes. For the first hack, we will have a look at the category called Note Numbers. If you go to your notes, you will see that sometimes the auto-note function number the heading as, for example, 4 and the sub-note as 4.1. But there's only one sub-note in this note. So therefore, it's unnecessary for us to show the 4.1. Luckily for us, we can just switch this 4.1 off by going to the note numbers and then switching on the omit loan sub-note numbers. Always remember to apply your setting. And then you'll see it has disappeared. But if you go down a bit, you will see that for note point 7, for example, here we have more than one subnote. So here your subnote numbers will still be available. And that brings me to my second trick. So if we have a look at page 20 and page 21, the events after reporting date and the going concern note, here you'll see that there's no values disclosed in this note. So it's not necessary for us to have this 2024 and the 2023 at our heading. So this we can simply switch off by going to Note Headers, Show Headers, and here it will give us the option to either select or deselect the headers for certain pages. For our example, we don't want the headers to be on page 20 and 21, so we just deselect it. Press OK again. Remember to apply. And then if you go back, you'll see that the dates are no longer there. But if you scroll up, you will see that they are still there for the notes that do contain the values. And then for our last one, you will see that sometimes in our financials, there will be large blank spaces printing, like for example here underneath note 8. If you want to get rid of these spaces, you can just go to the next category called page breaks, and you will see that page break notes are currently set on subnotes by default. So we just want to change this because subnotes, this means that Draftworx is splitting or making the page break so that the notes with all its subnotes fits onto one page. So we want to just change this to paragraphs. Again, remember to apply. And then you'll see the note 9 moved up and our space has disappeared. And that's it from my side, Christy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Andrea. Some awesome features just to polish up everything on our side. And I'll quickly grab that share back and we can go from here. So once we are happy with our set of financials, guys, very, very easy, we can click on the print. That can print it out straight to your computer, wherever you'd like it. You can just select where to print it and throw it through there. Additionally, you can also save, which would then download the PDF to your computer, and then you can email it off and so on. There are some additional options here. Download encrypted if you do want to encrypt your PDFs. Welcome to do that as well if you're security conscious in that sense. And then there's a few other things you can do, but yeah, that's mainly getting your financials done and dusted. Everything looks good and I am ready to go. Now, there's two more things that I'd like to show you guys today, and I think we're pretty much wrapping up. But the one thing is just a quick touch on our support. So support, super fantastic. We have our support team available 8 to 5 South African time. We are looking at possibly expanding that into the future, especially with all of the additional countries we're getting. But what we do have here is if I'd like to get support on my file for whatever it might be, it could be something's not printing nicely, maybe I don't understand where a figure is coming from, something along those lines, you're welcome to hop onto support. The only thing they generally don't do is we can't help balance your PPE for you, we can't help you with retained earnings errors. But everything else there is support. And so I'll hit the little question mark and I'll go through and contact our support. So there's two options here. There is remote support, which is our ideal option. It's going to get you assisted the fastest. And there's contact support, which I'll cover in a bit. So let's do remote support. So if I select this, it takes me through to a website. It downloads a little custom version of TeamViewer to my computer. So you'll see it says TeamViewer QS. You can save this wherever it is. So you can actually save this on your side. You don't need to go through and essentially change it on your side. So save it. I would click on that. And now it's actually going to go and start up this little custom version of TeamViewer. And we'll see, we'll give it a second or two to start. And then I'll just show you how we use it. So there you go, it's started up. You can see it's got our logo on it. And it takes a while, then it generates a session code for you. And it's going to fill in your name. So I'm going to say Draftworx. And I can click on the little chat icon. So I click on the chat icon, it pops up this screen over here. And now I can type in, I need some help. And one of our lovely support staff is going to get back to me and they're going to try and assist. You can see we have a couple of them answering. They're very, very eager to answer today. And super awesome. A few facts about our support is they are actually all generally articled. We have one IT guy who's fantastic, but he's the only one that doesn't have official articles behind his name, although he can do his retained earnings balancing better than many people that I have met. So fantastic guy. So we have all of our support guys here. It's not a computer that you're talking to. Sometimes I don't know. I don't know if you guys have used AI support. I hate it. So we've kind of avoided that specifically because we know humans are 1,000 times smarter and they understand things. And so these guys will be able to assist you. They'll log onto your computer. They'll be able to see your screen, and then they can assist with whatever is needed. So that is our main support option. Please use that if you ever need assistance. If you are going away from your computer, that support is active support is what I'd like to call it. So they need to interact with you. They're going to ask you questions. They're going to figure out the problem together with you. If I need to run into a meeting, but something weird is going on in my file, then you can hop on, do a contact support. It sends us a mail with temporary access to your file where we can go in our time and go and look at the file. Convenience there is you don't have to be around. So you can just leave it. You can go on with your life, work on other work, or go and do anything else. And we'll kind of jump onto that file when we've got a gap and fix it up there. So that's our support. Please use them as needed. The guys are fantastic. It's one of the best things we have in Draftworx. And so, yeah, jump onto the support if ever needed. Then the very last thing to show you guys, and I promise this is the last thing, we can go and roll forward this file. So the year has now been completed. I'm rolling forward into the next year. I'm going to go to Client Setup, and I'm going to go to Roll Forward. And I'd select that, and I have a few different options that I can select there. So I can select whether I'm doing a year-end close or balance sheet roll forward. I can change frameworks if I want to. If my company, maybe the entity is now full IFRS or something along those lines, you can do that. Working papers as well, you can modify that if needed. So I've got all of that there. From here, I can simply say next. And this is the most important part of the roll forward process. I can tell the system I want to copy the current financial statements, or that I want to copy new financial statements from the templates. So essentially, that would mean copy new is a completely new template, and copy current uses the existing modifications and pulls them through already on my side. So it's super convenient because any changes that were made, including our reconciliations that we did and all of those things, gets kept in the file if I say copy current. We have a few other things here. Move current notes to prior, and that essentially would mean where, for example, Nicole went and balanced our PPE recon. That will actually go and take that and pull it automatically into the prior recon in the next year. So we don't have to redo work there. It's actually one of the big advantages of using Draftworx. Less and less work the further and the longer along the line you use Draftworx. And then we've got replace current reports with default. And this is simply these reports listed over here. Even though I'm saying copy the current, the listed items here will still be replaced with newer versions, and that's generally just because they are the items that we are signing and so on. So I've got that there. I'm going to go and say next. I then have a disclosure update, and this one's very important. What it does is if there's a new disclosure that has come out and it's on our default templates, and it's come out since you last created this file. So I created this file last year. Now I'm rolling forward this year. Obviously, a few things would have changed. There's maybe something new from IFRS or a new disclosure that's come out, or there's just the tax updates. You can apply them to this file. And very much in the beginning, I spoke to you guys about the difference between the IFRS Plus financials and the legacy. This is one of the biggest advantages of the Plus financials. We can go and update everything on our side with a click of the button, and the latest disclosure pulls in, and you don't need to worry about, oh, is my disclosure still correct on this set of financials, because we take care of that for you. I can then say next. I can pull through working papers. I can roll them forward if I want to. So if I went and completed an engagement letter and I want to use a similar template next year, I can roll that forward into my next year if needed. And if I'm happy with that, I can say finish. Important to note now, because I am rolling forward, I am going to pay for a new file. And I can simply say OK, and it rolls the file forward for me. Takes a second or two, not very long at all, and it rolls the file forward for me. And yeah, that is pretty much my whole thing for today. I think, yeah, done and dusted. We can go and see. You'll see now there's a 2026 working TB in place. Everything's there. My financial statements, as I said, it's kept everything that I modified earlier. And so I don't need to repeat a lot of the work that I've done before. So yeah, that is me. And I think we're done for the day.
Guys, I'm sure you'll agree. What an unbelievably impressive piece of software Draftworx is, isn't it? It's just amazing, and what a team. I don't know about all of you who've joined us and who've tuned in this afternoon, but I personally have learned so much that I didn't know about all these individuals, and I actually need to sit down with the recording and just make a few notes, because there were some very important points in there And so thank you to our presenters. Christo, thank you. And to
Thank you.
Nicole and Matsebo and Moritz and Zanria. You guys are awesome. Thank you to Clarissa and Michelle, our experts attending to the Q&A as well. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. You have, if I just do a quick count, there are 7 movies have been made about formidable groups like this. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm calling you the Magnificent 7. So thanks, guys. It's been amazing.